As soon as this liquid turns red, I have 5 seconds to live. On this week's episode of Cartoon Buffoons, I'm your host, Wyatt, who is here with me today as always.
Hello, I'm Morgan. I'm Rev Runner, the descendant of Road Runner. You can see me on Lunatics Unleashed.
Which we won't be talking about. Who is here as our very special guest this week?
Miguel, eager young space cadet.
And we are here to talk about Duck Dodgers, the maybe not shortly lived, but often forgotten early 2000s era Cartoon Network show. I know it's a show that I have seen a good amount of as a kid, but just completely forgot existed until I was putting together the list of topics for Cartoon Buffoons.
The way I didn't even know this was a Cartoon Network Studios production.
Yeah.
Wyatt, the way I was like, what are you talking? This is obviously Warner Brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not.
Yeah.
What a world.
Well, actually, it is. It was made for Cartoon Network, but it is produced by Warner Brothers.
Okay.
But we're doing it because it's Cartoon Network. It's like exclusive to Cartoon Network. So that's why I'm like, just put it in there.
That was CN greenlit it.
Yeah, we're putting it in there. We're doing it. We're doing Duck Dodgers. Miguel, you're our guest. What is your... First of all, tell us what your qualifications are, like why you're here, what your history of Cartoon Network is, and also like what this show specifically means to you before we get into it.
Okay, well, when I was a kid, I watched basically three things on repeat every single day. It was Looney Tunes, it was Tom and Jerry, and it was Scooby-Doo. I fell out of love with Scooby-Doo a little bit when I got older, but I've always loved Looney Tunes, even today. And Chuck Jones specifically was my favorite. Okay. So when I loved Duck Dodgers as a kid, the original short. So when I heard there was a TV show, I was like, I gotta watch it. And I just really fell in love with the art direction, the voice acting, everything about it just really appealed to me specifically.
So what era did you grow up in? Like, what was your, because I have no idea what our age differential. We're like 30, like freshly minted 30-year-olds. How about you? Like, what did you grow, because you grew up in like early Cartoon Network with where they were running, where it was mostly like Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry and like not too much like original stuff, or were you... Maybe you're like in the same era as us.
I grew up in the 2000s. The 2000s when they were having originals and everything.
So similar to us. I too do remember seeing, like Duck Amuck and Duck Dodgers and stuff like that. Like seeing those shorts before. This came out. Because they would just have those and the Bop Camp stuff. Just on. TV and everything, and of course Tom and Jerry, and
like the 4 billion Tom and Jerry movies that exist now.
But like even the shorts, like if you just stayed home from school, you were watching Tom and Jerry all day.
Yeah, you were, and I was sick constantly, so there wasn't much to do other than watch TV. So I was watching Tom and Jerry and
very constantly. Same over here. I think it's neat though that like a show like this and other ones can like really impact the kid. Like I know that there's 1,000 stories about Ed and Eddie and all these other ones, but there's something neat about it being Daffy Duck and stuff like that, because like I remember the like Dick Tracy parody Daffy Duck thing, like the Great Piggyback Ride. I remember that so vividly.
Yeah, the Bob Clampett cartoon.
I remember so vividly to this day. To this day, I still think about the shot of all the different villains and criminals and stuff. Like
Neon noodle.
I always just, because it would make me and Nikki laugh a lot, the Rubberhead, I'm gonna rub you out.
Rub you out. I'm gonna rub you out. See?
Rub you out. See? Rub you out. Yeah, like that's brilliant.
It's such like an ageless type of comedy. Like it's just super funny to this day.
Yeah, it's timeless.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Almost 100 years ago, and it's still hilarious.
Holy shit! I never thought about it. Oh my god, it
like
is
that. Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Just think about this: the 1930s cartoons. In about 10 years, those will be a century old. Yeah, that's insane.
Oh, god
wow. Fuck. I can't believe I've never put that together till right now.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. Actually, that animation has like withstand and been funny and cool and groundbreaking.
For so long.
Yeah.
And that those
Let's
shorts...
make sure it stays.
Yeah.
Let's make sure it stays, everybody.
Absolutely.
Corporations, I'll kill you. Let's.
Maybe a corporation who owns this. Warner Brothers.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
They tried to sabotage this one too. Don't worry.
But I did want to ask, what were your, this is kind of part of a revival of Looney Tunes that happened like throughout the 90s and into the 2000s, because it was kind of like on that, like especially during the like 70s and 80s and everything, like Looney Tunes really was kind of dead. It wasn't like...
Yeah, it was a dead zone completely.
Yeah, and it was probably like, a couple things, but Tiny Toons was a huge thing in like the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. Tiny Toons.
Animaniacs,
even though it's not really Looney Tunes related, but they do appear in it.
But there's a lot of like crossover. Like, I saw like Paul Dini was on the show and everything.
Oh yeah, all the... Mm-hmm.
Did you see any, like, were you a fan of like any of that stuff, like those older Spielberg shows like Tiny Toons?
Oh yeah, I love those shows as a kid. Freakazoid, Pinky and the Brain, those are all fantastic shows to me. So when I saw their names in Duck Dodgers originally, I was like, oh, I gotta watch it. Even Tom Ruger is credited for it. He wrote the season 2 finale, I think. Yeah.
But
can I ask you a strange?
I prefer.
Oh, go ahead. You go first.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you a very strange question. So of all like the new Warner Brothers like Looney Tunes stuff, me and Wyatt have like seen it and we like a lot of it. There's one show from it we decided to not cover on Cartoon Buffoons. Do you have an opinion on Baby Looney Tunes?
Oh God. Okay, well, it's how do I put this? It'll be nice. I'll say the show is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah,
that's a really good way to put it, and that's exactly why we did not cover it. They're like,
like it. Okay, it's kind of like Tom and Jerry Kids. It's Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes without the violence, so minus any reason to watch it. Really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the point that I made where I'm like, in Muppet Babies, the characters still more or less act like the corresponding Muppets.
They act the same.
Yeah, like Kermit is still anxiety-ridden, and Piggy is still like hi-ya and in love with Kermit.
Yeah, very egotistical.
Yeah, and like the characters more or less, whereas like you can't do Bugs Bunny as a baby unless he's like hitting Daffy in the nuts with a hammer. Like I don't like.
Well, here's the thing. That's what they wanted to do at first. They wanted to make a direct-to-video movie that was like the classic shorts, just they're younger. Yeah. But nobody would foot the bill, so they decided to make a show that was just a preschool, sanitized, very bland. It was really lame.
Yeah. And that's the problem because
they did make one short. Yeah. They did do one short, which with the Baby Looney Tunes concept. It's called Little Bo Peep or something. With a coyote and Roadrunner, and it's very violent, but it's hilarious. Yeah. It's still funny.
Because to me, in my head, the like true, we're trying to rip off Muppet Babies was Tiny Toons. That like Baby Looney Tunes was more literal, like we're just one-to-one.
Literally, the Looney Tunes is babies. At least with Tiny Toons, they were different characters, even if a lot of them were similar.
Yeah, and when we can talk about that because I'm a huge I'm a huge fan of Tiny Toons, but I'm a huge Joe Alasky as
Joe Alasky's brilliant.
Like Plucky, like Joe, like as Plucky and as Daffy and everything. Like he's just like an incredible voice. He does such a good. He's like the best Daffy that isn't.
Yeah,
Malcolm,
I feel like if you were born if you lived through the 90s or 2000s, he was Daffy Duck aside from Mel Blanc.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to like stick on the Baby Looney Tunes point because I do think but I gotta say and me and Wyatt will talk about this in a future podcast that won't exist when we go through all of Nickelodeon. That won't happen, everybody. I'm being serious. Do not look up for that. But I think it's so crazy how many people tried to do the Rugrats formula without understanding what made Rugrats work.
I think understand what made it funny.
Yeah, Rugrats is supposed to be. It's not just babies doing their day. It's babies' perception of things that adults do through the lens of a baby.
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
you can't. They're not just babies just shitting their pants and hanging out. Like,
and the adults are the funniest part of Rugrats to me. So
exactly. Yes,
that,
exactly.
It's like, the adults are hilarious. They make the show. So without that, why would you make it?
Yeah.
And all the baby shows just take the adults out fully, and it's weird.
Yeah, because
they center on the babies.
They take the easy route. They take the easiest part and do that.
And it's about like learning lessons and things like that. Whereas like, there's no fucking life lesson learned at the end of any Rugrats ever.
Yeah.
Maybe like later on, like post the Hanukkah special, you know, when they have the revival and it's like gets way dumbed down.
And there sure as hell aren't any lessons in Looney Tunes either.
No. Yeah. Most cartoons end with like, oh, they're singing or they blow up or die or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
or Bugs Bunny shoots a dog in the face and kills him.
Yeah.
The lesson is don't get shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was definitely one of the shows that I remember. Like I didn't have cable around the time that it first started airing. It was probably like a little bit after that. I would catch it like late at night, especially like, you know, at the time before Adult Swim became like every single night. You know, it would air like late at night and things like that, and I would catch it, and alongside probably like other like Toonheads or whatever, like where they would air classic cartoons and talk about like cartoon creators and everything. And you know, as a teenager, like looking this stuff up, I became indoctrinated into the cult of Chuck Jones and everything, being like he's the greatest animator, you know, of all time, etc. And which I'm not necessarily dogging on him. I'm just saying that that's like a common thing. And it feels like for a long time, Looney Tunes was just Chuck Jones Looney Tune.
There's something regarding that I do appreciate about the show. I guess I'll bring it up now. I love that they never show Bugs Bunny at all.
Yeah.
Me too. I think it's like such a strong choice that's like very specific.
Co-creator of the show, Spike Brand, he told me that was intentional. He said they didn't want to do Bugs Bunny. They felt it would just distract from the show, which it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like the minute you show Bugs, people are gonna want Bugs to be a recurring player, and I think having the like weird scientists and the cadet be the supporting cast with the Martians is very good because it's characters that are still recognizable.
Yeah, they're from the original
but they're not the ones that you always get to see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they're not like the ones you always get to see every single time. I think it's a very good specific choice. If we're now digging into the show, I have to say this show is I didn't think it was possible to distill the like referential vibe of the early shorts into a modern cartoon.
Yeah.
But they did it perfectly.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
When I'm telling you, you're giving me Halo references?
Yeah, and Star Trek.
What are you talking about?
Samurai Jack, of course.
And Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Samurai Jack and Dragon Ball Z. Also, hold on. There's only one Dragon Ball joke in this show.
They got bored and just want to watch a rerun of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's, and the thing is, I'm glad that like they stay in genre.
Yeah,
too.
it's all sci-fi.
Like, all of these things are like very much like sci-fi in genre. They could have gone all over the place, but like no, like. Because it's weird to, like, say out loud that Dragon Ball is sci-fi, but then you go, well, it is, because they're fighting aliens and all that other shit.
They're fighting aliens and shit,
But yeah, I think, like I love turning Elmer Fudd into, like,
that episode
the
is so
Flood,
funny.
which is like the Flood from Halo, and like he's like a parasite, and I'm like, wow, these guys were like, it's crazy to be so locked into like modern sensibilities,
and
of
it
comedy,
doesn't feel off.
and also the vibe the old ones had. Yeah, it doesn't feel off. Like they really combined it into like such a crazy and really good mix.
Compare this to,
I was like so surprised by that.
Compare this to Space Jam 2, and you'll see how much better this is in comparison.
Yeah,
because that's just like references to reference. Like this is like no, what are our contemporaries? What are like on the same level as us?
Actual good parody instead of just referencing anything that's popular.
Yeah, and I mean, but even then, like it still is like on its own, like within its own world and characters and everything, like outside of references, it is still just like a very entertaining show,
and
like
funny.
set up and everything. You know, like Duck Dodgers himself is like, you know, a great stupid character.
Yeah,
Like doesn't really,
he's so dumb in
yeah.
the show. I love it.
Yeah, he's like, especially. I feel like this drastically colored my perception of Daffy, like as a kid, like seeing it young, like in my younger years, like as a kid, like him and Plucky just being so stupid and so like, you know, like I know that Daffy is like a buffoonish character, cartoon buffoon, is a buffoonish character.
Yeah, but in the original shorts, he wasn't
But,
an
like,
idiot. Here, he's really stupid.
Yeah, and
You know, I feel. Go ahead, Wyatt. Sorry, I'll let you.
Oh no, I was finished.
I was gonna say, like, I also think that, like, it's funny. I feel like he's a little bit less mean spirited here too. He's just
he does some really evil
like
shit.
he's still mean spirited. I'm not saying he's not, but it feels like he's like being dumber has made him a little less mean spirited. Like he very much is like a hero first. Yeah. He's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a shitty hero.
And I
think I think the creator Tony Cervone said he's an idiot trying to do good. Which sounds about right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just so it's so funny. And the thing, I'll be honest, I was going into this show prepared not to like it. I'm gonna be honest. I am I do not have a lot of nostalgia bones in me for stuff I remember. I'm very much someone who judges things as I'm going into it.
Yeah.
But let me just say, cracked open the first episode, and they do such a good job of setting up the dynamic between the cadet and Duck Dodgers. And I was like, no, they might be onto something. Like, I'm just like immediately really bought into like the entire world and what they're doing, and the aesthetic. Also, the music, the animation. This whole thing sets in. This is like I said this before. Other stuff. This is a sniper shot of like animation.
Yeah,
they came into this aware of what they wanted with no like contrivance. They're like this. We know exactly what we want to go for, and we will execute.
And I love it.
And I think that's always my favorite thing.
And I love that they don't just rehash. They don't just repeat what you've already seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they said we don't want to make Chuck Jones cartoons. We want to make our cartoons. And I much prefer that to like just repeating what you've already seen, which is something I think some of the other revivals have done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think while the art style, like the way the characters are designed, that's very Chuck Jones-y, like the eyes and everything. Mm-hmm. It still has its own style to it that feels very unique. And it doesn't, I would even say like it doesn't really feel like those earlier Spielberg cartoons because it doesn't have like, one, it feels like they have like maybe a smaller staff of studios.
They do, yeah.
With Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, they had like 6 or 7
yes.
studios that they would cycle through, and you could like clearly tell if you're watching
like TMS or Star
Toons. Like, oh, this is a
yeah,
Kennedy, which is always the worst
one.
Yeah. And man, I think there's like Kennedy Batman the Animated Series episodes, which is
I'm not sure, but they did work on. I think they got fired immediately after Tiny Toons. I think that was it.
Yeah, because they did the first episode of Tiny Toons, and I remember like when I was rewatching, I was like, "What the fuck? Like, what are we doing here?" And then you get to a TMS episode, and you're like, "Oh, whew, okay, they're cooking."
Yeah,
you know. So nothing is quite to that level of quality because you don't have like. Oh, the guys who animated Akira are doing, an episode of Duck Dodgers, but it's super consistent. It's very appealing.
They found a way to finesse it.
It holds up very well. And the downloads that I got were like web rips, like 1080p, like very high quality web rips from like Amazon or whatever, and just so good looking. It holds up so well despite being a show from like 2003.
They got a lot of the art.
I want to
hold on. I just say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
They got a lot of the background people from The Iron Giant to do this, which explains why the backgrounds are so beautiful.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good get.
Art directors both worked with
Brad
Bird and everything. The art directors both worked on like The Incredibles and Iron Giant, Osmosis Jones, stuff like that.
Yeah. and like 8 Crazy Nights.
All right. Fuck off. I quit.
Yeah. Hey, man. I've seen.
No.
We should do an episode.
Whatever this anecdote is, put it the fuck away.
Not
I
saying when
don't
it
want
gets
to
to
hear it.
Hanukkah, we should do.
Don't do it. Trust me.
an
Do
episode
not
on
do it.
Crazy Nights.
If you want to live.
Wyatt. When it gets to Hanukkah, I'm going to punch you in the face 8 crazy times. Shut the fuck up. Okay, we gonna say Wyatt though before.
Well, I was just gonna say that we should get we talked a bit about we talked about Daffy. I want to give a shout out to Porky, aka the Space Cadet.
He's the best character in the show.
One, this is when Bob Bergen's doing him. And he's so fucking funny because it's just so good to see him in this sort of role where he can be both the
straight man and also be his own character.
Exactly, he can be the straight man, but he can also be the put upon loser, and that's also funny. But then he's also a sex god.
He gets
every woman in the series is
fawning over him.
Yeah, loves him, and they're all this bodacious space babes, of course. Speaking of which, the villain of the series is very obvious. I'll get back to Porky in a second. I just wanted to shout out Queen Tyranny.
This show is extremely horny.
Yeah, exactly. It contains that energy from the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, those shows. So
it's impossible to look up that poor woman on the internet. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I'm guys, I saw the show. I'm watching it right now. I don't think her boobs are that big.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know, guys. Also, side note, I think it's so funny that the cadet... The first episode we open up with, he's seducing Marvin.
Yeah,
I think that's crazy. He's like, no, dude, he's a sex machine across the board. It doesn't matter who, everyone wants him.
Yeah.
Especially when he's dressed as a woman.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? You can take the Bugs Bunny out of the show, but you can't get the cross-dressing out of the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And I love that he gets into it. First he doesn't want to do it, and then he's into it.
Yeah, he's it's so good. It was a very strong first impression, especially when Duck Dodger's is all right, we gotta go, and he's like, hold on, I just gotta let him down gently because he's a really nice guy. It's that's sweet, that's
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
This but across the board, I think even though Bob and Joe both do fantastic jobs. This voice cast fucking amazing. These guys do really good performances.
Not a single miss in the voice casting. It's all great.
Michael Dorn as the freaking robot.
Yeah, Michael Dorn.
Dude.
Michael Dorn. They got so many Star Trek people in this show. So many Star Trek people.
Oh yeah, because Sinestro was
fucking John Delancey. Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. That's the perfect Sinestro voice.
The guest stars on the show are fucking
yeah.
Also, the dog being Frank Welker.
Yeah.
And let me just say, I've now gotten to the point where I'm like this. We gotta make him say Treasure. Whenever he's in the show, I'm like, listen, whatever it takes in my body, I need him to say Treasure.
We need Megatron to say Treasure.
I need Megatron to say Treasure like he says his friend. I need every character he's ever voiced to do it now.
Yeah. The Green Lantern episode in general, I was a huge...
It's such a perfect idea for Daffy Duck.
Very much a big fan. Yeah, it's so much more... It feels more locked in. I'm sure, there's some crossover because they are Warner Brothers cartoons and everything, and Warner Brothers has DC cartoons, yada, yada, yada. But it's so much smarter to be oh yeah, let's do a parody of Green Lantern with Duck Dodgers instead of Superman or Batman.
Yeah, because they...
the more iconic...
Yeah, they've done Batman and Superman being really obscure, but not as ubiquitous as those two.
Oh.
Hello?
Hello?
Did you vanish to the void?
I think we lost Miguel. No.
Ah, shit. Are you there?
Hello. Oh no.
Stomp your hooves 3 times.
Shut up. But yeah, I just think Green Lantern's a good get because of like how they like it's kind of untreaded at this point.
Yeah.
Like, cause like we have Justice League where it's like Jon Stewart and like, we had the episode, but that's like the first like exposure to Green Lantern for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like it's very like weird and interesting. They're like, oh, let's just see that. Let's get another glimpse at the world, and I'm like fairly certain. No, yeah, actually, I might be right. I don't know if Sinestro is in Justice League.
Miguel,
He might just straight up not be. Miguel,
you hear me now?
Did you return? Can we hear you? Okay,
Hello?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you.
cool.
Just to make sure you're still recording.
Yeah, I'm still recording.
Cool.
Okay, good.
Great. Because it'll just keep recording. But we were just talking about the Green Lantern stuff. I wanted to give a big shout out to the fact that Hal Jordan he shows up like right at the end, and he's Kevin Smith.
Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, I said that, and then I got disconnected. Yeah, Kevin Smith is Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
I assume that was Paul Dini's kid. I think because they're big friends, so I assume that was Paul Dini.
Yeah, that is so good. Especially because like, what is this? This is like right around Clerks 2, probably, or
a little bit. I think this is before Clerks 2. I think this is around like Dogma.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
So it was like during that weird middle era of the stuff, and then not the weird modern era that we're currently in of like.
Yeah, not totally falling off, but getting close.
He hasn't made that really weird tweet about his wife.
The really good tweet about his wife.
Why? Don't make me read it. Sorry, everybody. Buffoon break. I have to read out the Kevin Smith tweet.
Oh shit!
10 years in, and we bone like we're cheating on each other with each other. A decade plus of her clit, her brown, and taint area boning my dick. What made him say that?
He's a wife guy. I don't know. If that's not a wife guy, I don't know who is. So come on.
With his daughter Harley Quinn.
Yep.
No one else should voice Green Lantern but him.
Yeah.
God.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Hal Jordan.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just like I was just very pleased by that and everything. It was like John DiMaggio is Kilowog. We talked about it before. Kevin Michael Richardson definitely should be Kilowog.
Forever.
So, yeah. That's like that just feels like perfect casting for it. But John DiMaggio also very good.
Speaking of voice casting, did you know that Warner Brothers didn't originally want Joe Lasky to voice Daffy in this? Well, Dodgers.
Who was it? Who was the original pick?
Originally, they wanted Johnny Bravo himself, Jeff Bennett.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
They got him to record one episode, and then they had him go.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I like Jeff Bennett.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has it in him. I don't know if he has it in him.
The reason why they wanted him was because he was cast in Back in Action to do the voice. It was going to be him as Daffy and Billy West as Bugs. But the director, Joe Dante, did not really get what he wanted out of them, so he recast him with Joe Lasky. Jeff did do the voice in some shorts around that time, but he didn't do the voice, I don't think, ever again after that.
Billy West is a weird one because, like, I don't mind him as, like, Bugs and, like, Space Jam or whatever, but, like, we did Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island recently, and he's Shaggy in that, and it was just like wasn't bad, but it was like driving me nuts because it sounds so much like Billy West.
No,
like
so
it sounds just like I was being distracted.
It just sounds like sounds like Billy West doing an accent.
Yeah.
I feel like my issue with Billy West as a voice actor, and I do like him across the board. I want to say this first. I love Billy West as a voice actor. Is that every voice he does feels like him stretching Fry. Every single one.
Yeah.
But what about Skeets from Justice League? It's not like he's stretching Fry. What about, it's like, Doug, it all sounds like Philip J. Fry is talking to me. Like, Philip is doing the voices. It doesn't feel like he's doing the voices. It feels like Philip J. Fry is doing voices at me. And it's fucking weird.
I think that's down to the voice direction because Bugs Bunny just sounds like New York Fry. It's so uncanny. It's weird. But I think that's down to the voice direction.
Yeah, probably because he's fantastic. I love his work. Like a lot of hell, I even think like his like gap between like Zoidberg and who else who voices? It's someone else. Zap is really good, but I do think sometimes the direction can fail him in a lot of places.
Speaking of people who may or may not have trouble doing multiple voices, season 2 premiere had the like niece and nephews of the cadet show up, and I immediately as soon as I heard Rob Paulsen, I was like, Jess Harnell and Tress MacNeille will play the other two, and I was correct. And then, and then I was but that's not to look. I think like I love these voice actors and everything. I just think that it's funny that Rob Paulsen, I mean, he's still doing podcasts, and he's still like, I got my 3 voices. I got like, I do.
I assume
Yakko.
They specifically told him to do Yakko.
Yeah, like Yakko. I got like, Carl from Jimmy Neutron.
Carl Weezer.
Yeah, and it's like
I have All American Father. That's it. Those are the 3 you get in.
Those 3.
He can do other voices, but it's just like those are like a lot of them.
Those are his laurels.
It just ends up a lot of his other voices end up being, and in this case, like literally are just doing Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, so it's fine.
Yakko one,
yeah, but
I think like another thing about this show that's great. I kind of talked about it a little bit, but having the music behind this, like I like decided to pull up like a bunch of like the stuff for like the music and songs that was in this thing, and there is some like names for some of this arrangement and singing.
Yeah, they got Megadeth, man.
Yeah. The Flaming Lips also, like they were like not.
And
like,
Tom Jones, that's a theme, and guest stars as himself.
Like it's super duper cool that like they were like this, even though this was like definitely a smaller team and stuff like that. This feels like it has that like love and care a lot of the Warner Brothers shows around this time had, And I think it's a bummer we don't really get that from Warner Brothers anymore. But like I think it's really cool that like this show had like a lot of that love and care and time into like who was there, who was working on it, what they were doing. And man, it's really cool. It's really, really cool that we got this.
Yeah, and
I think I'm just gonna say it right now. This is my favorite of all the revival Looney Tunes shows.
Cool. Yeah.
And it doesn't really get that much discussion, but what were you gonna say?
I don't think it's close.
Yeah.
Like I like close. I like a lot of the other ones, but watching this, I'm like, I don't know if it's close. Like I think probably the closest is like the like way later Looney Tunes show they did, like recently compared to everything. The Looney Tunes show,
but one on Max.
Yeah, that gets close, but I think like compared to the stuff around like this time period, I don't know if it's very close.
Yeah,
I had different issues with all of them, but I think this one comes the closest to really recapturing what made the originals classic.
Yeah. And even though it takes one short and like kind of expands it into a whole universe, it doesn't feel like it's long in the tooth or anything. It feels like, I mean, I didn't watch every single episode for this. I just like skipped, I watched a bunch from each season like we usually do for Cartoon Buffoons. But even then, like by the end, it was one of those shows where I'm like, I could definitely see myself like watching this whole thing because it's just like a very entertaining, easy to watch show. Comparing it to like, not just Baby Looney Tunes, but stuff like Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, which is fucking
Sylvester
boring. Like, really boring.
Great TMS animation in the first season, but that's it. It is shit.
Yeah. And then, like...
Or Tasmania, which I never really got into.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of those shows that were just kind of mid, just like during that era. And of course, like, yes, we have nostalgia for Space Jam because we saw it as a child, but go back and watch Space Jam.
But it's not good.
It's not good.
It's not.
Guy, hold on. Stop. Are you telling me, as a formative young woman, that I'm wrong for thinking the sexy rabbit was sexy and the movie's good because there's a sexy rabbit in it?
Yeah.
Fuck you, Wyatt. Lola Bunny.
Maybe.
Oh, dude. Now we should actually do Space Jam one day. See,
Okay.
like now, like I'm not doing 8 Crazy Nights. I'd rather die.
Okay.
But maybe Space Jam. Maybe Space Jam.
Maybe. You know,
There's a lot,
we should
there's a lot to talk about with it.
Yeah, when it gets to like Thanksgiving season, we should do Iron Giant because they used to rerun that.
Dude, I don't want to cry. Fuck you. I don't want to do it. Also, wait, there's an Iron Giant joke.
Oh yeah,
in
the
this
Iron
show.
Giant parody.
Not once,
that
but
parody
twice.
is hilarious.
There's 2 different Iron Giant jokes in
Yeah.
this fucking show.
And what makes it funny is that Daffy tries to get him killed. Essentially,
Yeah.
he gets the fucking robot killed.
You go, I stay.
I hope that table holds.
But yeah, the Space Jam sucks. But the you know what? I actually kind of, this is maybe controversial, and I don't know how much I feel like defending this point. But I remember when I did watch Space Jam and then Space Jam, whatever the fuck, A New Legacy.
2.
The
Mega
second
awesome.
one, I was like,
Space Jam, a new shit.
yeah, I was like, the first like 20 minutes, like the first like section where it's actually 2D animated or whatever, like is much better than any of the stuff in Space Jam 1, where it's all
there's a reason. There's a reason for that. Space Jam 1 had like 12 animation studios, something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no consistency at all.
Yeah. And it just seems like a big mess. And it seemed like it was just like a big clusterfuck alongside the like Warner Brothers, like their merchandising division or whatever.
It
like,
was.
Because that's what created the whole, like that's what created Space Jam. And that's what made like.
Yeah, it was born from
Taz,
advertising.
Like Taz became a thing and like Marvin the Martian became a thing, which fed into this show, which is like a good.
Yeah, that's actually why Cartoon Network greenlit the show in the first place. They wanted a show with Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, which is just so, it's just so funny that like people were crazy about Marvin the Martian in like the 90s and 2000s, like early 2000s. My uncle John, you know, who like he's from Japan, and he fucking loves Marvin the Martian. Like you go into his basement, it's like half D&D stuff, half Marvin the Martian stuff. You know, so cool. Like, yeah, he's like in his 50s. Cool. Like,
dude, I'm about to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Cartoon Buffoons is canceled. I'm playing D&D with Uncle John.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Oh, dude, no, there are many times where I've been like, just like we've been talking about like lore dumping at each other, you know, about stuff. Me 30 years old, him 54 years old or whatever. Like, just like, oh yeah, this part of the blah, you know, just like talking about, you know, our gigantic fantasy worlds or whatever.
He explains what like the spell plague was from D&D.
Yeah.
Like, very into it. Like,
yeah. But, well, that's the thing, because he's had his own campaign going for like 20 years. So like he's had like his own like world built up and everything.
Dude,
and
he
has like
a character sheet.
Yeah, he has like maps and stuff of his world on the wall and everything, and he keeps like a huge, you know, like spreadsheet and Google Doc of everything, and he's, you know, just has like all of his other old friends who've been playing since the 80s, you know, like have been playing since like that era of D&D. Anyway, I have no other reason to bring up my uncle who loves Marvin the Martian other than in this.
No, shout him out. Yeah. I do want to say, like, hearing this about Marvin the Martian into the show, it does bring me to like how can I put this? I don't want to be cynical. I don't want to be cynical about it. Like, there used to be a time when, like, we could own that things were being made for money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We could own that things were just toy commercials, but we still got quality because we put people that cared about the product on it, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just think that, like, oh, here we go, Wyatt. The Cartoon Buffoons drinking game. I'm about to talk shit on capitalism. I think that like the constant progression of capitalism has really stolen the like you should try from creating things. You know? Yeah, this is a toy commercial. This is to make this character more popular. But like also, this can still be good. You can still have artists and pay them well and and let them work and stuff. And there will always be like companies intervening and causing issues. That's been happening in animation specifically forever.
Decades.
But like, I feel like now we will have these people bust their asses, make products, and they'll go, actually, it's cooler and cheaper if we just never release that. And that's just the fucking worst, man.
What's the point at that point, it feels like? What's the point?
Right, exactly, yeah, like...
Yeah, I mean, like with Looney Tunes specifically, there was the whole thing with the like, the Wiley versus Acme or whatever. Like that one movie that got like
Yeah.
completely
Yeah,
written
Coyote
off
versus
and like,
Acme.
yeah, just like that got completely shit canned and people like watching it like this is awesome. Like why the hell didn't they release this? And then now there's like the upcoming one with that's also like
Daffy and
Daffy and
Porky.
Porky.
The day the Earth
Yeah,
blew up.
which I really hope has a screening in my town somewhere. Because I live in a shitty little town, so sometimes they don't have like wide releases.
That makes
like
two
that.
of us. Don't worry. That makes two of us.
So I just because I want to see that in theaters. I want
It looks great. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely want to see that, and as especially like it looks very similar to like the recent, like the Max shorts.
Yeah,
everything.
same team, same writers.
Yeah.
Actually,
then,
oh, you go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was done. My point's done.
Oh, okay. This was going to be a movie at first. Duck Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
That's
cool.
This was post Iron Giant. They had a couple people from that film, and they animated a whole trailer. All the animation in the intro is actually from that trailer. There's footage of it out there. When they showed it to Warner Brothers, they said Daffy Duck and Porky Pig can't hold a movie, so no.
Which is
what an insane thing to say.
That's
Shows
funny
how much they know.
Because like I guess like Back in Action wasn't like a huge smash hit, but like that's predominantly Daffy. Like that's
he's the main character.
Yeah, like he's out of the like between him and Bugs, like he has way more screen time. He's more of a presence.
Yeah, Bugs is kind of just
like,
along for the ride.
And another controversial opinion. That movie is so much fucking better than either of the Space Jam
easily.
movies.
I don't think that's controversial anymore. It's not controversial at all. It's not perfect, but it has so many great scenes in it.
Exactly. Like I feel like it definitely like kind of falls apart by the end.
Yeah, the third act's a mess.
But like I remember watching it and just having like a ton of fun. It is just like really funny, for the most part. And then I would say like out of all of those live action guys hanging out with cartoon guys movies, like it's not like as up there as like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is like the peak. Like I don't think anything is going to
that's gonna be the peak forever, it seems like.
But it's like in the middle somewhere. It's not like at the bottom like the Space Jam movies. I
think it's a great film trying to get out.
There was someone I wanted to talk about for the show that it's weird we haven't talked about them before because I meant to talk about them. I meant to talk about her specifically in the Kids Next Door episode. I forgot. I was talking about Colette Sunderman.
Okay,
he's a brilliant voice director. Brilliant.
She's the voice director for this show, Wyatt. She also voice directed the first 4 seasons of Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Codename Kids Next Door, Foster's, Generator Rex, Chowder. She co-directed on Johnny Bravo, and also her brother's Jeff Bennett. But like besides that, like it's just I just think that like there is something so sick about like you could tell that like a lot of these shows have like we talked about the direction earlier about voice acting, but like voice direction is so fucking important for hitting these specific moments, and especially in like high energy cartoons like this in Kids Next Door.
Yeah,
like there's like you very specifically have to hit these specific lines hard in a specific ways, and I just think we don't talk about voice directors enough because like, we talk about like showrunners and directors, but as a voice director, she fucking owns it. There's like not a TED Talk, but she did like a little sit down with a bunch of other voice actors and was like talking about the process. And like, I just think it's so cool to think about those people who like their bread and butter is getting the best out of these voice actors we've known forever. And I think it really shows because there's some products that like voice actors I love. I'm like, why are they not hitting here? And it comes down to direction. They might not have had someone helping them and sitting down in there. So I just wanted to give her a shout out because that's like, Cartoon Buffoons is kind of about the people who make these things. Cartoons, so I do want to make sure we talk about like the voice directors and stuff like that.
And to give like specifically like this is a show that easily could have felt mismatched on Cartoon Network. Because it comes from a longer legacy of shows. It's not really like a creator-driven show, like a lot of the Cartoon Network shows. And it's also very similar to something like Time Squad, which we already talked about, but it is able to fit in right alongside those because of like the people behind it, because of stuff like the voice direction, subtle things like that, and the writing. It just has like that sense of being, and it has like the good pacing. It's a nice 11-minute.
Yeah, it's fast paced.
And even the 20-minute ones feel great. They don't feel like a slog either. They feel really well structured.
The final episode specifically, which is what I quoted at the beginning of the episode, like one of the post-credits gags, or mid-credits gags or whatever. The final episode being like, behind the music, or maybe not behind the music, but like a reality show for a hero thing, and it's just like,
and they just completely fuck it up. They just completely
it is so funny. Like,
I love that there's no music in the entire episode. It's so awkward and it's hilarious.
Yeah. You just see like how bitter like Porky gets towards.
Yeah, he's so sick of Daffy shit.
Yeah.
Like, thank God we're canceled. I fucking hate like it's really good. I also think that it was nice to see at like points in the show to see the voice cast animated. I will never stop being a sucker for seeing the voice cast in a show. I loved it when Chowder did it. I love it when they did it here. I love seeing the characters, like people that voices, like, hey, these are real people. Because like we said, I think we said this on the first ever episode of Cartoon Buffoons, that like a lot of our first exposure to like seeing people who make these cartoons was the Space Ghost episode where he was interviewing people that made the cartoons. I love when kids get to know that like even though these are cool fantasy worlds that you should like embroil yourself in, right? There are people making this, and if you want to make this, you can.
Yeah,
I think that's like very important, that like you can make this stuff. These are people that do this. This is their passion, and it's possible. And I think that's beautiful and fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that Daffy shits on Joe Alaskey's performance at the end.
It's really funny. It's really good.
Whose voice do you do? Yours. Well, keep practicing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I don't know. It's just all around just a great show. Like, it is a surprising little gem of a show, that I would recommend.
Very hard.
Like, just recommend not just to people that are Looney Tunes fans, but just like cartoon fans in general that want like a funny show that has like, if you're like me and do kind of like, I love the hectic sort of anything goes nature of Looney Tunes, but I also do like shows or series that have like a world, like an established world.
Yeah, world building.
Yeah, which is not necessarily even like, you're right, but not even in the sense of like lore. We're lore or whatever, but just like in the sense of like it has like a world that's tangible
that they commit
like,
to.
They
do stick. Yeah, they do stick to continuity.
Yeah, and that's what I like about like Tiny Toons. Like, I think that has like a consistent world. That's what I like about a similar show to this that came out later, Wander Over Yonder. Like, that is...
I love that show. Love that show.
Yeah, very, very Looney Tunes, but also like it is like a space adventure / Muppet / whatever, Dr. Seuss, like, acid trip kind of show. Just really, really good. And this gave me like that kind of like flash forward vibes to Wander Over Yonder in a lot of ways. Especially because like in Wander, even though like Wander and Sylvia are more of like mutual partners, there is an episode where Wander gets Sylvia to seduce Hater. So it's like that's I was having like those thoughts. Yeah, it's like when in the first episode in this series. But yeah, so I fully recommend this show personally. How about you guys?
I think besides just recommend it, I think this is also the perfect way to dip your toe into those older cartoons.
Yeah,
I think like if you watch this and like it's a good sensibility between the more modern stuff you might have grew up with if you're like our age and the older stuff.
It's
watch this first, and then Exactly. Yeah. And then just like slowly dip your toe into the older shorts. I think this is like a great show. Like, and I think that's kind of what they made it for. Like, it's a good midpoint to like go into this and then just slowly go back and then just go, man, this shit was off. Well, it was always kind of funny. There's a few things that aren't kosher. But it's okay, you know.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny doing blackface. Not great. But...
Yeah. And you know what? Before we go, actually, I just realized we didn't. Like, we only briefly touched on Queen Tyranny. Did not realize Tia Carrera is doing her voice, a.k.a. Nani from Lilo and Stitch, a.k.a. Forever Waifu, from...
Oh, shut up. Ew.
I mean, Lilo and Stitch is, like, my favorite... I mean, it's definitely my favorite Disney movie. It's like up there for favorite animated movie ever.
And my lawyer has has told me I can't say what I think about Nani on a podcast.
Yeah.
So my lawyer's made it very clear. So I won't say anything. But she does such a good job. All the voices does such a good job.
Yeah, can I talk about the guest voices first, like the special guests?
Sure.
Like go ahead. That's a good point.
It's insane how many people they got on this show. They had Louis Black, Quentin Tarantino, Mako in all 3 seasons, or is it Mako? I forget.
It's Mako.
Mako.
It's Mako. Yeah.
Yanni Tartakovsky in the Samurai Quack episode. Like, it's just they're all doing great jobs.
Yeah, that I was very happy about that. That it felt like they weren't.
They got Bruce Campbell as steroid Porky Pig.
Yeah. Bruce Campbell, who would come back in Megas XLR like the next year.
Yeah.
He plays Magnanimous, the parody of what's his face from Marvel, the like floating head guy.
MODOK.
MODOK.
Yeah, MODOK.
Yeah. Which is like what the fuck? Like, what kid is gonna?
What kid's gonna
like?
know?
What kid in 2004 is gonna be like? Oh, of course, that is a reference to MODOK.
Yeah, all the kids.
I mean, it's just like the same
Marvel
thing with
references.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like with this, where I was like, like I'm sure there are kids who are comic book fans like in the early 2000s and like love Green Lantern, but it's just like I'm just so glad they picked Green Lantern because I'm like it makes sense. It's like a space, it's like a big space opera sort of, show, and like I said, the absolutely perfect voice that they could have gotten for Sinestro.
Yeah. It feels like a show it's a show that they made for themselves, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that comes up a lot in the show. We always talk about that on Country Buffoons, that like some of the best shows are shows they're making for themselves that just happen to reach a lot of people. But yeah, I think we could definitely say Duck Dodgers, fantastic cartoon. Definitely check it out. Very surprised. I love being surprised by episodes. I love being surprised when I go back to watch something. I'm like, this was fucking great. This is going to be on the rotation every few years. I'm going to rewatch it now. Like it feels
Mike
great
Lou
to say
and
that.
Og and Robot Joe
Yeah.
and stuff like that, where we're like, oh hell yeah, dude, these guys are great. Yeah.
And the Cramp Twins.
Yeah. Even the Cramp Twins was really funny.
It makes it worth suffering through something like Flintstones on the Rocks.
Yeah.
Listen, look, that show got shooters. Be careful.
That
show has shooters. That movie has shooters.
I don't care. That movie is terrible.
Yeah. I agree. Like, okay, and we've talked about it before, either off the podcast or not, but just real quick, the problem isn't that, like, because I've seen there are some people who have commented, I'm not going to call them out, but like they have said like, no, the joke is that Fred is an asshole. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
the problem with that is that Wilma is also
an asshole.
Like portrayed, like she's portrayed as being like a wretched harpy when she's like objectively in the right. Like,
yeah, they don't do a good job. They don't balance the scales at all and try and have one side.
Yeah,
they don't portray her as. And it's Chris Savino, so they'll linger on the worst jokes.
Yes.
Forever.
We almost got through an episode. I'm talking shit on Chris Savino. Yeah. We almost got through an episode.
I'm sorry.
It's right at the end. We had to.
Right at the end.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
That is a running gag in Cartoon Buffoons where we just. We always have to throw shade at Chris Savino. And...
like Miguel, we have to give you credit. You are now officially a buffoon as you have hit the make fun of Chris Savino tab.
Well, I'm happy to contribute.
He has a bunch of... Yeah, because he's just like had his finger in the pie of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's like you can't get rid of him.
Yeah, like Usually it's fine. Like earlier episodes of Dexter and Powerpuff Girls, the later seasons where he was in charge, not as good. You know, and then bad pilots that he's made and Flintstones on the Rocks and everything. Like, and it wasn't solely him, but it was just like, you know, he's
it
like
has
an
a lot
easy
of his
target.
Yeah, it has a lot of his trademarks.
Yeah, especially
stink, if you will.
Yes, and like not gonna even get into like you know how I feel about something like the Loud House, but whatever. Anyway, we
gotta wrap this up. We gotta wrap this up.
Okay. Duck Dodgers,
show.
good show, great show.
Yeah, check it out. I agree with you that I would say like probably my favorite of all of the revival era besides maybe like for nostalgia reasons, Tiny Toons, and then I'd still undecided on some of the like one of the later ones, the Looney Tunes show. Like we haven't done that yet, obviously, because we're doing.
We'll get to it. So I'm really excited to get to that.
I'm excited to get to it because I remember seeing that on TV when it was airing, because that was when I was like really getting back into Cartoon Network, that like 2011 through like 2014 whatever era, just like watching all that stuff like Symbionic Titan and so forth, freaking Level Up and whatever,
all that.
But again, thank you so much for coming on, Miguel.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
I loved it.
Yeah, so how about you plug yourself so that people know where they can find you?
Yeah, where can we find you on the internets?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Daffy Duck. Yeah, big surprise, Daffy Duck's involved. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Sometimes I post art, and usually I talk about animation. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's how I knew that you were, again, just like what Morgan said, like as soon as, like, you know, Malcolm last week was like, hey, I got somebody that you could do for Duck Dodgers. I was like, great, don't have to worry about booking a guest. You know, makes my job easier.
Yeah.
And then like recommended you, and then I saw like immediately like bam, Daffy, like that Daffy Duck, you know. Like I was like,
your
great.
icon, like like it's like the JRPG thing where you go to a town and there's a guy with a big sword and you know you're going to recruit him.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, he's qualified.
So yeah, it was great. Morgan, how about you? Where can we find you?
Hey everybody, it's the bit time. It's time for Morgan's Bits. You can find me at Girl Next Door on Tumblr. I draw a lot of vampire and Pokemon related stuff. You can also find me on, regrettably, because it looks like it's going to win the war, Blue Sky at Girl Next Door, also no spaces. I will say, while you guys are on Blue Sky, please be careful. I'm working with the Martians to blow it the fuck up. So, please look out, because I will be shooting that laser and you will feel it. So watch yourself.
Yeah, it will be
you can also
blue sky shattering kaboom. You know?
You can also find me on Twitter, but I like to keep that to myself. If you want to find me on Twitter, you gotta go into space. You gotta find an asteroid and find one with water on it. Dig through, and in the water, the molecules will spell out my Twitter ad.
Yep.
If you find me, you can then see me on Twitter talking shit. That's all I do over there. Also, this is not related to anything I'm creating at the moment, because I am creating stuff. But Interview with the Vampires on Netflix. You have to watch it. Everyone has to watch that fucking show.
I second that.
Wyatt, where can we find you?
On Twitter, you can find me at Wasp Ranger, WAZP Ranger. I don't have Blue Sky. I still am undecided if I want to make one. So, because I feel like I'm just going to hold out until Twitter is just a complete crater in the ground.
Complete shit show, yeah.
Yeah, but which is getting there very quickly. But, you know, go there, Wasp Ranger, WAZP Ranger, etc. Most of the Student of Consciousness stuff, but I do post about new videos that I make. I got 2 channels. One that you may be listening to this on, It's Only Magic, where there's a whole bunch of cartoon videos. Will I make another one? I actually am in the middle of writing a script for a new It's Only Magic video. Big thumbs up. And I have a second channel for Metroid shit, so I don't fill up the first channel with that. And it's just a bunch of topic-based videos on that. So if you're excited for Metroid Prime 4 like me, go check that out. It's Planet Zebes. If you want to support the channel, go on to the Patreon. It's Only Magic. That supports both channels, by the way. And you can get videos when they come out a week early. You can get these podcasts a week early. So if you're listening to this on YouTube right now, if you donate at the $5 level, you can get our episode on Clone Wars. Not the later Clone Wars, but the first
Genndy
Clone
Tartakovsky
Wars,
one.
Genndy Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yes, that original Clone Wars from like 2003, before Revenge of the Sith, came in. And apparently people consider that to be like a great, amazing movie, but whatever, we won't get into that. But yeah, get that right now, and it just helps support me and pays. Right now it's basically just this pays for my internet bill. Like that level, but hopefully we can get to the point where, I can pay for a little bit more. I can give money to Morgan and everything, and we'll be great. And you can also, if you just have $1, you can get Wow Cool Robopod. We recently reached 100 episodes. At the time of recording, probably at the release, we're beyond that. So go and listen to that. It's 5 to 10 minutes. We review every single robot in existence, and it's a good time. It's a nice little mini podcast. So just $1, and you get to just marathon all of that shit. So go and check that out. Go to the channel, subscribe, all that stuff. Leave a comment on this video if you have any.
Leave a comment.
If you have any Duck Dodgers opinions.
Also, be ready, because we're doing, like you said, we're doing Clone Wars next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it's just going to be me and you, because I'm going to be weird about General Grievous. I'm going to be weird. That man is sexy. This lesbian shit is for the birds. I want to marry him. Yeah. I need him to marry him.
So yes, we'll be talking about that. Oh dear God, we have to talk about Star Wars on the internet. I'm just realizing that.
Why we're so woke? We're in trouble. We're gonna get woke, Bob. We're so woke.
No.
I wish you both.
We have we have the acolyte tattooed on our back. But
Black
anyway.
lesbian hates Star Wars with beta nerd.
But anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Yes, join us next time. We're doing the Clone Wars. Miguel, again, thank you for being a guest, and we will see you next time.